Hi, this is Kevin Flood on the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio, and we're back speaking with Neil Fretwell from the Vintage Hot Rod Association here in the UK. Yeah, coming back to that subject, Neil, what's your thoughts on that? Because it is a concern in the States that the classic car hobby is dying out with the age of the 60 and 70-year-olds upwards.
Well, I've had a conversation with somebody along those lines a couple of years ago at the All Ford Rally that we have here. It's an event that's been going for a number of years, and it's open from anything from the birth of Ford right the way through to about the 1980s now, I believe. We've got to remember those cars are 30 plus years old now. Yeah. But I was talking to a couple of. It's organised in the most part by the Model Y and C register. For your American listeners, that's our smaller versions with a little 8-horse engine that would have been, I think they started producing them in 1932. It was the first car that was actually designed and made for the UK market. But their fear is that their type of car is going to come to an end regarding being collectible or even being wanted, because they're so slow. They're in modern traffic they're close to useless really, and they just don't think they can see any young blood coming through and wanting those kind of cars. It's going to be a case of people inheriting them and then not really knowing what to do with them.
Yeah.
But they themselves said that they can see that our type of cars, the hot rods, because of the noise, the speed, the look, the outlaw element, and it's certainly more outlaw in the UK than it is in America because it's been there for so long. I think there's enough of that, danger, shall we call it, that I think hot rodding will survive for a good while longer over here.
Yeah, because what the guys on the Classic Car Show are trying to do with because they interview a lot of people from museums and clubs and stuff, and they're trying to promote take a kid to a car show or get your granddad to take you to a car show and things like that. So I think that's a good initiative, and it's maybe something they should look at here. I think it's they tend to be a little bit insular with some of the clubs, I think, and they don't want to introduce new people and new things sometimes, I think, and it's
I think some of the older guys can run scared of youngsters.
Yeah.
It happened to me when I was 18 years old. I had a little Morris Minor convertible. It wasn't even 20 years old at that point. It was a 1968 model. This would have been in 1987 or 86. And I took it to a car show just outside of London. And as I was registering it to put it in there, toddled up to the desk. This guy behind it, I guess he was 50, 60, I don't know, I can't really remember now. He said, "Right, what have you got then, son?" I said, "A Morris Minor convertible." And he said, "Oh, it can't be an original one then," because he wouldn't believe that I would have spent that much money because they're that much more expensive than the hard tops. And they were really, really sort of digging their heels in at the fact that a youngster had, say, one of the higher end Morris Minors. And let's be honest, no Morris Minor is high end, is it?
They're getting that way though now. Actually, they're fetching some money, aren't they?
That comes back to that thing, everything going up in price. But when we're talking about an £800 car, it wasn't anything that I liked it, but it wasn't anything that special. But yeah, I think they do have some fear. But what you're saying about take a kid to a car show, I think that's a good idea because that actually puts them in the car when it's moving, rather than invite a kid to a car show. Because I think that can be a lot of the problem a lot of the time. Things parked in lines, it looks like a car park, and this isn't a slur, on static events per se, but, I think you need to get kids out in them and show them how exciting, sometimes going 30 miles an hour in a Model A can be as exciting as going 70 miles an hour in a modern vehicle, or more exciting in my opinion.
My wife certainly thinks so. First time I took her out in that, she's like, "How fast are we going?" Yeah. And it's it is, as we were saying a little bit earlier, it's definitely a kind of visceral experience, isn't it? I think.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But
that's the thing, isn't it? Being into the four bangers, you'll never ever spend quite so much money to go quite so slow.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You can buy a flathead, go twice as quick and spend half the money. Yeah. But for half the money again, you can go twice as quick again just by fitting a small block, can't you?
Yeah, that's the thing. But going back to what you're saying about static car shows, I've been over to quite a few Good Guys shows over the last few years, and I think the sort of, I suppose, the pro touring movement with the autocrosses, that's definitely improved things a little bit because there's cars actually autocrossing now, and there's stuff to look at. There's noise. There's and I think there's and there's this ultimate streetcar Optima thing every year now as well. So I think you're right. I think the static car show has got its place, but you do like to see them running and stuff like that. I mean, I mentioned to you earlier, I went to this steam show here locally, and they had every single vehicle steamed up and running, including a Stanley Steamer car.
Excellent.
And everything was running, and the kids were loving it. I mean, going back to the Model A, if I drive the Model A down the road, kids will stop and point and laugh and smile.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And I've got
you're just hoping that you're leaving a lasting impression on them. One of them might just go home and try and find out what that funny old car is.
Exactly. My wife's got a Herald, a red and white two-tone Herald, and same thing. Drive that down the road, you don't see them anymore, and people go, "Oh, look at that!" It's lovely, and it's like, because it's not round and all looks the same as everything else.
Yeah. Well, we get told, we mentioned it earlier, the Atomic Festival that we're part of, where we run the drag racing. We've often been told by people who aren't necessarily into the cars, and I've read blogs of young girls that are going there for the fashion side of things, and they comment on how much of a different experience it is with the noise of the going on in the background. They say how much that helps to make the event,
Definitely.
And what we're trying to do at Atomic is we're trying to encourage people to use their cars. And there's a lot of stock British cars, a lot of stock American vehicles. We're trying to twist people's arms to come and have a race with us, because a lot of drag racing that went on back in the day would have been, stock vehicle versus stock vehicle.
Sure.
All the famous stuff is obviously the high-end stuff, but to fill the drag strip, make it worthwhile for the promoters. It wasn't all about the gas classes and things like that. They would have been running stock classes as well. So.
It's the bracket racing, I think, was the thing, wasn't it? That used to fill the lanes up. I mean, that's the effectively the run what you brung. Type thing,
and that's what we're trying to do at Atomic, and it's just a little trying to twist people's arms a little further. We're going to be giving away some tickets for Gal Speed Hill Climb at Atomic. It's going to be to somebody who wins. It's just going to be a lucky dip for anybody that takes part in the racing, and hopefully, they'll do it one year. They might want to do it again the next. And
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, that's part, because from what I see from the VHRA, the promotion's good. I mean, you got that sort of thing, and I see you on social media quite a bit, and the website's very good, and so you've definitely got the modern end of the marketing side of it working by the look of it.
Yeah, well, that's what I've tried to do. From the start with the website, I try to update, at least once a week, or if it's not once a week, it will be 4 times a month. I see our webpage as being our newsletter, because as you know, we don't send a newsletter out or anything like that. And my experience in the past of club newsletters is they can be sometimes a little lacking in information. Yeah. Whereas I think if it's all up on the web, you can go back and see the old stuff and things like that, and it's instant, isn't it?
Yeah, more up to date.
We had a meeting recently with the DVLA, which is our equivalent of the DMV. Where they're talking about how to go about registering old vehicles, and it's a thing that's on a lot of people's minds at the moment. Yeah. And within 24 hours of being there, we had a report up on the website to say what's going on. And I know that report has been used quite widely in classic car magazines and everything else. So I've not seen sent one for writing it all, but
no, of course not.
I know they're using that information, but that's a good thing, because it gets it out there. Had that been hidden away in a little club magazine, it'd have been a month late, and maybe the word wouldn't have got out. So.
I mean, I've got a blog that I do. That's just me fiddling around with my Model A and making mistakes all over the place and stuff like that. But it gets, I think it's had something like 20,000 views now or something, and people
it's
just
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes send you a message and say, "Oh, how did you do that then?" And it's and I said, "Well, I'm not sure you want to do it the way I did it, but
here's
it was
how I did it."
Yeah,
you decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why it took me 3 days to get the sump back on. And it leaked all over the place and everything else. And it's the enjoyment part of it, really. I think that's the thing. But I was just going to ask you, actually, do you ever think that you might end up publishing something like a Rodder's Journal type thing? Because you have got a lot of pretty photogenic cars in the club, haven't you?
It's something I've considered. I don't know if you've got a copy of our DVD.
I haven't yet. I will be. So I notice it's just gone on sale, so I'll be there for that.
In the DVD, to make it something that was, because the trouble is things can get copied so easy these days, to make it a little bit special, I actually put together a little 16-page magazine to go inside there called Soup.
I saw that on I saw that on the site actually, on the promotional stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
excellent.
And that was kind of a little feeler to see if people were interested in a little magazine like that, a little, like the hop-ups and the honks and things like that were back in the 40s and 50s. And but barely anybody commented on it, so it's not something I've pursued further.
No.
I like the idea of doing it. It's something I really like the idea of, but it's...
I'm a bit mad.
I don't know. It's at the back of my mind, but...
I tend to be a bit of a magazine person still, because I subscribe to like all the Hemmings ones, Rodder's Journal. I managed to get one of those lifetime memberships to Rodder's Journal as well, which was good.
I missed out on those. I don't know how I missed out, but I missed out on those.
I think they had a lot of trouble with their website at the time, I think, and I think a lot of people missed out. I think they're probably going to redo it, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I don't often go to their website, to be honest, but I've got every issue that they've ever published.
Yeah.
Been lucky enough to get a picture of my car in there. They've reported on Pendine in there. That was sort of one of the crowning moments of my sort of hot rod time, to much like this conversation we're having there, they really took their time and, asked some good questions, and and everything they put in there was really good, it's...
No, I like to talk to people who are enthusiastic about what they're doing, and it's because I started off life in the motor trade, and I've then drifted off into IT these days, but it's you always come back to it, and I'd love to find some way to monetize it in some way so I could enjoy it a bit more.
Well, this is the thing, I for years, everyone said to me, because how involved I was in the cars, and there's no way you can make a living out of these things, and earlier was it this year or tail end of last year? It got to the point that there's so much work with the VHRA that it's become a source of income for me now. I'm never going to buy the big house in the country, but I'm really happy doing what I do. It supplements other bits and pieces that I do as well. But it got to the point that it had to start paying because it was taking up every waking moment. Really, not that I didn't mind. No. But it just didn't give me time to do anything else.
No, exactly. I mean, what was it Henry said? Do something you love and you'll never work another day in your life, or something of that nature. And that's what it is, and you get up every day and it's like, I'm going to look at cars, I'm going to do something to do with cars, and I don't care what everyone else is doing, and it is around that. I mean, I like doing these things. I'm working full time, but I like doing these things. I like doing the blog and, keeping the cars on the road and all the rest of it. And eventually, it would be nice if one of these things could just keep me going a little bit, and I could just concentrate on doing that. So,
you just don't know where these things will lead. As I said, the VHRA, I expected it to be 50, 60 members. I never expected us to really have our own event. I just thought it would give us a name, and we'd be recognisable as a group. Exactly. I mean, there are smaller clubs within. As I said previously, the Low Flyers. I'm in a club called the Sidewinders. There's the Executioners, Beaters. There's a bunch of different car clubs over here, but as a collective, we weren't really recognised as anything. And I just thought it was going to give us a name, And as I say, it's just exploded. I mean, we're signed up member 454 this week.
There you go.
Which is, which is outrageous, really, considering we're such a small island and we're a niche within a niche.
That's a great way to end. I think we've kind of reached that point now. I think maybe I'll come back to you, Neil, to be honest, because I think we probably could talk for hours. But
I think we probably could. I'm known for talking.
Me too. That's why it was suggested to me by various people that this would be a good thing for me to do, because I talk a lot. So I'd like to thank our guest today, Neil Fretwell from the VHRA, and invite you to listen again next time I'm coming from the UK. And that's Kevin Flood signing off for the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.